of classroom training for any driver, and the idea it is that any driver could replace any other driver. So every single driver is training how to operate the equipment and all that. We, in Arlington, we spent a week in the classroom before we put somebody behind the wheel, going over the Arlington way of doing things, what is expected for the drivers, going over different specialized training. As a matter of fact, over the summer, we included the autism, and now we're implementing that every time that we have a class of new candidates, we're including the 3-hour training. So now our classroom session is gonna grow by 3 hours.
And is that assistants as well as drivers? Or just
Yes, everybody. Everybody goes through the same process. The only difference is after you end up on the classroom, the drivers take longer because now they need to learn how to operate a vehicle, while the assistants learn how to operate, how to load and unload and secure the childs, the wheelchairs, and all that. No, we do not train our drivers and assistants on medical conditions. If we have a medical emergency, the procedure is to secure the bus and call 911 and try to give them as much information possible so they can send the right ambulance, EMT, what we need.
And then just really quick to piggyback, does the special ed department decide if this child needs an actual assistant, special education assistant? Is that an option?
Okay, for a specialized education, we have one driver and one assistant. However, according to whatever the IEP may list, there are certain kids that require a one-to-one. So there may be a bus that you have the driver and 2 adults because one of the students requires a one-to-one. When we have students with a medical condition, what we have done is that the nurse or the medical provider will meet the student at the student house. We will transport that person on the bus to the school, and in the afternoon we'll do the reverse. But that aside, specialized transportation, we have one driver and one assistant in every single bus.
Just piggybacking on what I think we kind of touched upon it, that you said there's no law per se for how long a
That's
kid
correct.
can be on the bus.
That's correct.
So if that's the case, you kind of explained and sensitized us to the fact that it's a fairly complex operation that you're running. So if a kid is, and obviously I'm going by my child's example, she's 3 and she's on the bus for an hour. As a parent, what is it that, again, going back to, is there someone I can work with to see if there are more efficiencies available? Or
Okay, the only way that I can reduce that is if I do one bus, one child, one school. I'm sorry to say that.
But an hour is not the top for a 3-year-old. Because I think,
No.
yeah.
As one of our pet projects is for general education. We're trying to find a solution for a route that takes an hour and 25 minutes to take general education students from the north side of the county to the south side of the county. So we're working on that. We're trying to limit that as much as possible. However, again, I do not have the capability, one student, one bus.
So I might disagree slightly that there's no law that governs that. It's true there's no law that says the maximum ride is X minutes, but in the IDEA, the purpose of transportation is to allow the student to access and benefit from education, and if they're exhausted by the time
she's 3, she comes home, and the thing
yeah,
is,
then
I
that's
would
not
understand if
something
it's
that can
cross
be-
county, right?
Right.
In the morning it's a 15-minute ride because we're a mile from the school, but on the way back it's an hour. So
So
that's
I
what
would
perplexes
raise the
me.
sort of IDA language, in my case, and be like, this is not.
So
being
again, would this be
IDP, so
my
that would be an
IDP
IDP,
team?
yeah.
It'll be the IDP, okay.
Karen, you had a comment?
Accommodation
Sorry.
would be a shorter route.
Before I move to the next question, Karen had a comment.
One of the biggest problems, when we have students who are in countywide programs or out-of-county programs, there's no way to limit. And when you have a countywide program and you have 5 or 6 students within 10 minutes of the school on the same bus, everybody's within 10 minutes of the school. So everybody can't get to school in 10 minutes or 15 minutes because you have to allow for the stop, whatever the accommodation is, wherever. And even with some of those kids who might be 10 minutes away from the school, there are kids getting picked up before them who are on the bus longer going to where you are. So it depends on the kids who are assigned to the school, where the school is located, how many buses are allocated to that school. And like with one of my countywide programs, and all of the kids on the bus are between 2 and 4 or 5. So everybody's in the same boat on the same bus. So unfortunately, it would be nice to be able to do that with one kid, but I don't have any control over where the kids go. We're working a lot with the special ed department, and I do give them suggestions so they're not doing crazy things like, if there's a program here, don't send it to the program further, 25 minutes away. So we're working to work on those things, but unfortunately, we have those situations where, there are 5 kids, all 10 minutes away from the school, but to build a stop and a run, you have to allow boom, boom, boom between there and give traffic and get them to the school. And the goal is to get them to the school between 10 and 15 minutes ahead of schedule. So some of that we're limited because of traffic, but it's really crazy. And one of the biggest problems too is that people who are not using the buses do not communicate. And we have built in all of these stops, and then they're all empty, and they have to be changed. And then
This morning, I had a meeting at the county courthouse building, and I ended up being behind one of my special need buses. There was an accident on 50, so I took the service road behind the bus. The bus got to the stop. The child was not outside. It took 7 minutes for that child to be outside, to come out of the house into the bus, and it took about 2.5 minutes to load the wheelchair. So right there, you just lost 10 minutes on one child. So
But why would you plan your stops for 1 minute for the wheelchair? That doesn't make
no,
sense.
we don't plan it for 1 minute.
Well, that's what I was
We don't plan it.
wondering.
But however, we have to provide the service. A lot of the families wait until the bus gets to the stop to get out of the house, even though that we said that you need to be ready. But that.
Not every kid
Yeah.
can be like that.
Hey guys, I'm sorry to cut off questions, but we really want to have feedback from everyone. So if you can write down your questions, we will make sure that, and write if you would like an answer back, put your contact info. We'll make sure that your questions do get answered, but we really want to make sure that there's time to do some group discussions. So with that said,
Sure. So, one of the exercises that I like to do is really get people together, kind of, brainstorm is one thing, but really talk about challenges that you may face, and think about how we improve the process to address the challenge. So I heard long ride times over here. We heard Karen over here say that we have phantom riders, for lack of a better word. How do we make a process improvement in that area to help address your travel time issue? So these are the kinds of things, because I like to come at this discussing our challenges, but also getting some creative juices flowing about how we can address them. I think in the conversations that we've had so far with our families in special education transportation, for myself, what I've heard is a lot of process improvement needs. And so I feel like I've been Baldrige. It's true. How do we get a process in place to help to make sure that your 504 options? We have shorter trips. We have information flowing freely from special education to transportation, and any other issues that you happen to encounter. So I just left this slide up here. These are some of the issues that kind of bubbled up. Are there training related issues that you think that could improve the process? What are the kinds of things that we can do on our side, that you can do on your side, to help us improve any of these issues that we've identified here or elsewhere? So there's camping out in your papers. I'd like to give everybody a little overtime, but if we could give everybody maybe 20 minutes to kind of like scribble down some ideas.
If it's easier for your group to work on the wall, you can, or if you want to work on the table, we're gonna have a few minutes to share out. Share out at the end, and then the next step is really for us to take this feedback and kind of synthesize it and assign owners, and maybe a timeline to what we can do and when we can do it. So if I can place on every table, have a script. We will also go around and
One thing I did learn is that we do get two separate orders, because I have two kids going to the same school. One, I get a letter from my son, but he rides the bus with his daughter. I don't think I've ever gotten back to the transportation now because I thought that we needed so I learned that.
I don't have that information.
Is there any way that general education students can opt out of transportation? I mean, especially if it's not a mandate.
So,
You know what I mean? Like, if we find out it's more widely North Arlington parents who are doing immersion with their kids with weight fair, but they don't want to get on the bus with them. Is there a way that they ever opt out or just not show up on the bus?
well, it's,
For specialized transportation?
no, Gen Ed.
Oh, Gen Ed,
So-
option schools.
I mean, yeah, because
So, if there were X number of kids who lived, say, near Williamsburg Middle School, and that was going to be like one of the satellite drop-off points, and suppose there's 20 kids, and then if 19 of the families decide to opt out, but one family still wants it, they still need to do it.
that's what I'm saying. If it's not, if general education is not a mandate,
But that's countywide supported, a countywide program that's supported through APS policy. For Gen Ed. For the countywide, like say Jefferson Middle School has buses that go countywide for kids who are transferred there from any one of their schools. Kenmore also, and then Gunston, if they're there for immersion, or for students going to Washington Lee, there are buses that go all up and down outside of the normal boundary because of IDs. So for any one of the countywide programs, they're going to have buses that go way beyond their typical routes. And they're low ridership on many of those buses, but because even if there's one or two kids, they have to have them available to them.
So one of the things that we piloted over the summer, a centralized stop project for middle and high school students going to summer school. And most of the locations were at elementary schools, and then we had a couple other public spaces that were used as centralized stops. And so all of those stops had a significant number of kids, and in some cases the bus was full by just going to one stop, which meant that essentially those kids had a one-seat ride. So it's that kind of thing that we're thinking on the general ed side, at least on the option program, that we really should start to consider. Angel alluded to special project that we've been working on, which was really with the Drew kids. The North County routes, we had one that was extremely long. It was an hour and 6 minutes on paper, and once you get on the road and you have to deal with traffic, it was an hour and 20 minutes, and the kids were getting there late to school. So I did something like this with families, and we actually have come up with a way to reorganize the routes, but with 4 routes that actually go to North County. But everyone, I won't say everyone, many folks wanted to stop in front of their house. And so when you have that, you need to give and take, because there's travel time and then there's stop in front of your house. And so that becomes a trade-off. And so there are implications for that, I think, for kids who may have a 504 and IEP that would like to ride general education buses. If we went to a centralized stop, I think we'd have to talk about whether or not the student with the IEP or the 504 and transportation needs could make it to the central location. So there's a lot that yet needs to be hashed through, but you're right. Our option programs really, they stretch the bus system.
In the opposite way, I can't remember who mentioned it. So I have 2 kids at Campbell. One has an IEP, one does not. So the bus that my son rides with the system, the special bus, but it's very empty bus. So
Yes.
if there were other kids that stood, they would ride that one. Because he gets a letter for a different bus at a different time for him to go, but he rides on the special bus.
Okay. Right.
But that is.
There was no one at the stop in the public schools for.
We talked about it back in May, that Strawberry and HB are in the same building. And they're both small programs. They have pretty similar start times, but he would be even closer. And you've got 2 buses coming to the neighborhood to pick up a couple kids for HB and a couple kids for Stratford. Why can't they ride on the bus? Why can't the HB kids ride on the bus? So I don't know if that's
Could be possible.
No, I think, write it down. Write it down. One thing, and Nell and I were talking about this a little bit today, for some students who are on a special bus, their need is such that, and Paul, you can maybe speak to this better than I, where they can't have a lot of students around them. And so there are some issues related to that. I don't know how prevalent that is. Hopefully not terribly so. But that too impacts whether or not a bus could be used.
Like, I grew up in New York City, we all like bus passes, we rode like the public bus,
Right.
or took the subway.
That's what Angel was talking about in DC, that there's the only buses in DC are special transportation. Everybody else would use public
So
transport.
I mean, it's like, for kids to go to HB, since it's in Roslyn, which is like, it's on like, it's on like the Golden Orange line, but it's so it's like, are there like, could you get like a pass to ride a metro? Do you know what I mean? Or something? I mean, just as an option. So,
Yeah, and it is something that we do have in our toolkit for kids right now. Students are eligible for what's called an iRide card. So it's a special student discount card that you can use, but you can only use it on the ART bus. And so you, living in New York City, and kids in DC, it's blanketed with public transit services. We are not quite there yet in Arlington. So there are some challenges to that. But certainly for after-school routes, we have a couple late buses and a couple activities buses, which really aren't very full. Is there a way that we can work with the county, so that we could use ART? Or alternatively, are there ways that we can kind of think of our transportation system that's more like a public transit system? Maybe should our buses would they have kids of multiple ages on them? Could they just make like loops through the county.
When my son went to Williamsburg, there's one of the art pieces that goes up Williamsburg Boulevard, just not in the middle of the day. It goes like, so like he could go on the morning,
Right.
but in the afternoon, it didn't start up again until like commuting time.
Yeah. So let's write that down.
So, but it was like a circulating
Yes.
bus that anyone could kind of.
And that I've heard from the folks up near Williamsburg. They're like, you know, if you could just tweak that art bus just a little bit. And so if I have that on a list, then this becomes something that we take to the county and we talk a little bit more about.
Art bus does not have
Frequency.
right schedule.
It's not the right schedule. Yeah.
To align, let's see, for mostly PM.
Yeah.
Dismissal.
Another thing that I've heard of is that sometimes, like with VPI programs, some VPI schools might have like a self-contained room, but not an inclusion room. So a kid that gets moved out of the self-contained room, but like might not be able to go to, might be ready to be in an inclusion room, but there might not be one at that school. Like they have to be transported to like a different school in order to receive like a least restricted sort of educational environment. So I wonder about on the school side, if every school kind of offered both options, it might reduce the need for, I don't know what the percent of the population that would be, but then you could like go to whatever your local VPI program or whatever, as opposed, so that would be like just, I don't know. So I don't know. So I guess if every school had like a self-contained and kind of inclusion option, it might reduce the need for.
You can write that down. I do know, like with the new boundary change that's going on. Sorry, I didn't want to assume that you would write everything down.
Well, I think
you are.
I just have an empty space in front of me, that's why. So could you say that one more time? Could each school?
I mean, if each school had both sort of self-contained and kind of inclusion, what I mean is like some kids their IEPs might require a sort of self-contained environment. Other kids' IEPs might require a gen ed with support, and kids might transition from but not if hospitals offered both options, it might be that kids might not have to travel out of boundary to get a least restrictive environment.
So here's where I hear exactly what you're saying. It makes sense. And what happens, especially with pre-K, with toddlers, 3-year-olds especially, that so the child find that education process is like a factory that works. They're pumping out identified students all year round. And so during November, December, January, February, there are more kids that are added, and then they get placed. And the size of a self-contained pre-K class, maximum size is 8. In some cases, if it's like a day, you can bump one up to 9 students. But suppose that if Oak Ridge has a special education and self-contained class, they have 9 kids. It's full, no more room for anybody. And then suppose there's another kid identified who wants to get placed. They can't get placed there. So, but it's full. So but we could have a few other fairly nearby schools that do have an empty slot. Then what they do is they typically look at which school has an empty slot that is as close as possible to the neighborhood school. That's where we get into those, and usually it happens in the second half of the year when there are more kids identified and some of them end up getting full. But you're right, it would be great, but we couldn't run classes with only 4 and trying to keep them low enrollment to allow for more options and to try to get spread out.
So, just to make sure I got that, each school offers least restrictive environment inclusion or self-contained reduced countywide programs that require cross-country transportation, VPI.
Now, there has been some discussion, say, the MIPA program, for example, elementary NIPA program is only at certain school sites. And there has been a little bit of discussion about like some elements of the NIPA program potentially being available at almost every elementary school site. One of the challenges is that it would be greater inclusion for doing that, but then some students that maybe only one or two kids at a given school that might need to be accessing specialized services. Trying to find the right balance of having at least enough kids to support a teacher and work, but also to be as inclusive as possible. We're trying to find the right balance. The right thing to do.
We looked into that already. There's a savings that it's not significant.
No, because it would be too early for him, and you can't just for him to speak on his problems, and that would make it worse.
This is lunch.
We were really close to talking about this.
Far, but I tried to think of it as extra childcare time.
No, I hear you.
We don't need aftercare.
I mean, you know, my son is an internet, so he has behavioral issues. He already has health issues, so I don't want him to be getting I just worry that the assistants, if they're not training the assistants to deal with kids and what the qualifications of the assistants, not deal with special ed kids, or if it's only, people who don't work for special assistants to be able to deal with that kid. And what's interesting is that kindergarten principal really wants to push everyone else to be using the bus and the state from law. And I feel like very but now I feel like they've come to the you can't afford to be transporting all these kids. So there's also a push and pull. I think the principals don't want all the drivers that there's but let's see, what's an option?
Well, I think it's I don't. At Carson, I mean, you know, I can see why. Yeah, it's up to you. But I think what we need to want multiple action.
Yeah, maybe let's set up the very next step and invite any folks who are really interested to talk about it. Yes, that would be huge.
Well, it was a teeny tiny town, so they didn't even offer.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, folks, we're gonna wrap up our conversations and do a quick report out. Sorry, this is my version of a bullhorn. My megaphone. Yeah. Just a quick report out from each table, maybe a couple of key points that your table came up with. And then Janet and I will kind of take everything back together. And if anyone else would like to join us, we're going to do sort of a pull it all together meeting and then kind of create a little action plan, next steps kind of thing. But
And we'll share all of the sort of like summarizing that comes out of this on the list, the SEPTA listserv, so that people can see sort of some of the next steps. But we would really love to have others involved. So if you feel energized after tonight's meeting, you have more to say, or you have some great ideas and you'd like to be part of the group, that would be really helpful.
okay. So if we could start reporting out, why don't we let's start over here. So just a couple of the big points, key challenges and opportunities that you see coming out of this.
Yeah. So our group's main focus was on communication between the families and transportation, where I feel like they were saying there was a lot of middlemen between transportation, and we were also talking about how there seems to be a lack of communication lot of things that the school, individual schools are not aware of in terms of transportation, i.e. 504s getting transportation. And we also talked about maybe doing like an online access to bus routes, because there's a lot of, I guess, people weren't getting that information. And then you could also put online access to the bus routes, and then maybe put out a survey for bus riders, are you gonna use the bus, are you not gonna use the bus? And then verifying addresses, because I guess there's a lot of moving over the summer, and addresses are updated. I said every country for Asian drivers, because I feel like that should go without saying. It's not a thing. As a therapist, I thought that maybe including with your therapy services, asking your PT, OT, speech, to address things that would have to do with getting on and off of the bus, and then maybe that could help facilitate getting them onto and off the bus. Because if it's just getting up and down the stairs, then have your PT work on going up and down the stairs. So that's something to kind of put into the good set. For aids on the buses, to allow for more inclusion and educational programs and materials should cover transportation competition. So they were saying when we did your IEP training or learning how to manage an IEP, they were never told that transportation would be included in that.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Some of the stuff overlapped in terms of, I guess, training on allergies and use of the EpiPen. There are a couple more universal ones in terms of just coming up with more efficient or centralized routes, since we heard about those long routes from North all the way down to South Arlington. There's a desire, at least for me, for real-time tracking, so that people could, have this issue not just with my child with special needs, but also my typical child of just being able to figure out where their bus is. And applying classroom accommodations to the bus setting, so if there's a child with sensory issues, or if they need for preferential seating, a lot of those same principles could be applied on the bus and be just as effective. I guess, having training in emergency protocols, as well as with allergies, providing more notice when it comes to summer school information, for transportation, and got a big thumbs up for the drop-down option that I guess has been implemented for special ed. And then also just, parental concerns about a child riding a general bus, but the ability, whether or not the bus staff is trained or is going to be able to support their child.
Let's see. We had a few routing conversations. One was routes that go to countywide special ed programs that maybe are not full, sharing space with gen ed students who are also crossing the county for countywide programs. Can HB Woodlawn and Stratford share routes when possible? Can each school offer least restrictive environment options of inclusion or self-contained spaces to reduce the number of countywide programs that require cross-county transportation? And that would include VPI and MIPA. And can gen ed students, or maybe even special ed students, get public bus passes? Right now we have the iRide discount, which is for the art buses only. It's not for Metro or for Metro Bus. And it's a discount for students. It's still not free. And even if say middle and high school students did use that, the routing of the art buses doesn't have the correct frequency for afternoon dismissal time. And it was brought up that a lot of school principals don't want so many parents driving, so there's conflict between
overcrowded buses and the long routes, but also, not really having space for driving and drop-off and pickup. And one other thought that was brought up at our May meeting was preparing students by using social stories to prepare them for bus transportation. And it might help with that process that Karen mentioned earlier of students who are sort of maturing out of special transportation needs into general transportation services.
I love that. Thank you.
Communication issues, for example, the phone's not always being answered. So for example, an online option of being able to report that you're not coming would help a lot. Some of us have called and messaged them. But then the bus drivers, of course, 45 minutes later, don't have that message. Okay, thank you for my pointer. So we need something, because it is not uncommon for no one to answer the phone, especially early. Or also in the afternoons when a lot of people are calling. I know you guys don't have like 1 million people working for you, but you got a lot of worried parents, especially in the special ed population, when their kid's not home and they've been waiting and waiting and waiting. So there needs to be some method, because an email won't happen necessarily for 24 hours that you'll even get a response. So there's that. The length of routes, particularly in contract schools, you'll see some really long routes. Yeah, they're far away, but I had a kid on a 2-hour-long bus ride. That's too far. And laws are not, that's questionable whether somebody would say that that's legal to put a kid with a disability on a bus for 2 hours. It's awesome that Arlington sent them to that school, but is that appropriate? I think there needs to be more of a policy in the county, and we need to really discuss what that policy might be. With the I know there are limitations. We don't have enough drivers. Like, we heard a lot about all the reasons Arlington can't do stuff that we are asking them to do. But if you have a kid with an IEP, it's not the parent's fault if the school doesn't have the budget for an assistant. It's not the parent's fault if the transportation doesn't have enough bus drivers. We have to get our kid the services that they have legally entitled to. So what are we going to do about it is the big question. Let's see, plan extra time into those routes. You're talking about issues with how long it takes for a kid in a wheelchair. Well, but maybe we need to look carefully at what you're planning. If you're planning 2 minutes for a mobility impaired student, that might not be enough time when you're planning routes. I know you're saying, no, that's not what happened, but I've been on this list of the Gen Ed thing for that really long 614 issue, and you're like, oh, I don't want to hear from you, because I know you
recognized your name.
Yeah, and I've been out of it because my kid hasn't been on that bus because I didn't know she could get services 504, and it's too long a ride for her. But the fact is that traffic does matter. So when you say it's an hour and such route, traffic is always bad in Arlington, so that matters. You can't say it isn't part of the planning. And same with an autistic kid potentially running is something you should plan into it. I don't know how, but we need to talk about that. Better modeling system, route optimization, a non-parent educator type, but smart engineer planning type was like, maybe we need a better way of planning the routes. Maybe the computer should be in charge of that instead of people. What are we going to do about it? I don't know how it works, but I mean,
we do have software.
Something to talk about. Maybe you should do that. I don't know. You wrote something awesome, but I'm going to say it wrong.
Yeah, well, there's 2 parts to that. Arlington has a intelligent transportation system initiative, and whether your system is integrated with that, because there's a lot of stuff that's being done to automate and monitor traffic flows around that can be accommodated for. Built into the model, there's also lots of federal labs, Oregon National Lab, and I'm sure some of the other engineering schools around here have, lots of geeky kids that are coming up that would love to build a model like this and potentially help you out. I know you're already using probably some, but there's lots of Arlington GIS systems and things. So whether you guys are commenting that or something that can be improved there. And another part of that modeling is, have you looked at the overall cost of, if you went to smaller, you mentioned you had really only a few kinds of buses, but if you went to smaller, more efficient, some of these buses you're only carrying a few people anyway. You go to some smaller thing that has less capital cost and fuel costs and everything else, that cost savings you guys could budget more drivers to get closer to that 1-to-1 ratio. There's some cost things in those models that you probably could get some efficiencies, rather than running a bunch of, these big, relatively big buses that, my son's on the bus and there's, I don't know, maybe 5 kids on there? It's got plenty of space, like, well, maybe something smaller, more efficient, get more of those, and bring down those capital costs of running those large buses, and now you can get some more drivers. So, we're not gonna get to the point where you're gonna have some automated, self-driving bus show up, so you're gonna have to have drivers.
The very last one, and it's the one that's gonna be the hardest, I think, to listen to, is that a lot of us, most of us, love our bus drivers and assistants. We do. They are special. That 2-hour bus ride was miserable, but boy, does my son still talk about that driver 2 years later. I mean, there are some really special drivers in Arlington, in the special education bus area especially. But a lot of us feel like we get the runaround from upper levels. We feel disrespected. Not every time, not everyone, but a lot of people do. They feel disrespected. They feel dismissed. They feel like it's a combative relationship. They feel like IEPs are about transportation included in this, that like transportation doesn't want to do it, that they're not listening to us when we say our kid is actually in danger for what you're saying. My kid can't be on this particular stop 3 blocks from the house. She's gonna run, or she can't do it if it's icy, or if she's not stable that day, or whatever. There's a combative relationship, and it's, yeah, we're upset as parents. We're upset because we love our kids, and to have people not validate that is very painful for us and does not help our conversation move forward. Thank you.
So, not to repeat stuff that people said already, we also agreed with the importance of communication between the IEP team and the education department, especially on medical stuff and training, specifically on epilepsy as a theme that we've heard. Just wanted to echo and repeat this point that there are a lot of kids with IEPs who are not being served at their home schools, and that is driving demand for transportation. And it sounds like we don't know exactly how big that problem is, and how much it's driving demand for transportation, but I think that's a critical opportunity area to say if we were doing a better job keeping people with students with IEPs at their home schools, included in regular classrooms or other appropriate placements, we would not be driving as many trips across the county. And some of those resources could be used to support the professional development that's needed to make that happen. And then the last piece is related to, I think, both the positive and the negative of people's experiences with the challenging staff environment in the transportation system. We know these are not full-time jobs, and these are not the best paid jobs in the school system, and that people call off and there are subs and these kinds of things. But we wanted to share that we think it's critical that we treat people in the transportation system as part of the education team, and that part of the responsibility is not just to make sure the kid is alive when they get to school, but to make sure that they're ready to learn. And that means being aware of their anxiety, their sensory issues, their disability, and making sure that what we're doing in the transportation system is not exacerbating that stuff and making them show up to school not ready to participate.
Or come home absolutely at the end of their rope and panicked all night, so then they don't have a chance to be okay for the next morning.
I just want to elaborate on the medical piece. I just think APS and transportation need to develop a policy. What is our policy? I called Ms. Archer before the start of school, and she said, I don't have anyone who does medical stuff. That's like, we should have been invited to the IP meeting, and it's for the school to deal with. And I assumed that the school would deal with it, but they didn't. So we need to, including the drop down, I think, is a little medical checkbox. Or what is the policy approach?
I just want to say that one day when my son did have a seizure on a bus, and was, the bus drivers were great. They secured the bus. They called the EMTs. The EMTs took my son to the emergency room where I met them. The EMTs waited for me because they wanted to let me know that there was no information about my child available with him, which I never knew. I understand the problem of HIPAA and having information on the bus or having, his medical information out there. But they didn't have any way to reach me
other than it going back through central routing, and then I got a call from transportation that my son was on his way to the emergency room. Now he has on his wheelchair, a tag with all his medical information that is the same thing on his seatbelt in our car, should we crash and be incommunicative. So I just, parents don't know. I mean, I just assumed that, you got my kid, everything's gonna be okay. So that's, it's just the communication issue there.
So there should be something, that tag idea should be something that other kids could have, but the person, the bus driver and the aide should be able to see, well, there's a tag, and this is what I'm supposed to do with this kid. I think this is something that could be modeled, to use for other kids, because, I mean, all of us are special needs parents, and we're always trying to find a way, if something happens to any of our kids, what's gonna happen, how is gonna be their reaction if they encounter police, if we get into an accident. I think the tag model will be something that could be
Or
implemented in the
like a
buses.
folder that goes with that
Yes.
bus, because I know that you're constantly changing drivers. Maybe the folders are kept in a secure location, and when the driver gets assigned their bus that day, they retrieve the folder, they review it quickly, and then they return it. It's like part of their check-in and checkout process, because, the subs need to know too, that information, not just whoever's driving that day. So I think there is a way that can be done without having tags on every.
Yeah, or something, or some sort of, check-in, check-out, as you said, that they can know what are the medical, what are the first 1, 2, 3 steps if a medical emergency happens.
There's a lot of great ideas, I think a lot of creativity born out of necessity, but things that I think can certainly become best practices. So I'd like to thank everyone and thank Jana. Thank you for sharing your thoughts tonight, whether they're easy to hear or not so easy to hear. I think this was a very good discussion, raised a lot of really good issues, and I think we can take it back and synthesize it and then start chipping away at it. But I think in the end, we'll come up with some process improvements that are going to help everybody. It'll help your end, it'll help our end. So to Karen nodding her head.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second? All in favor? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
We did it. Hands are cleaning.
I know. Like Dora. I did it.
I just wanted to say, you probably.
Is this still on? Should we turn this off?